What's up, Connor?
What's going on, Sam?
Oh, you know what it is. We're just back for another episode of Definitely the Experts. I got the mic positioned a little further away from my face here, so you're not going to have this unbalanced unbalanced mix here. So we're doing it for the fans. Shout out to Tommy for pointing out how much I was yelling. So I'm gonna whisper the whole episode. Just gonna whisper, whisper sweet nothings into your ear, Tommy, just like we used to do back in the day. We said for each other.
Yeah, I think that's something that neither of us really noticed while we were recording the last episode, but upon further analysis, it certainly sounded like Sam was screaming into the microphone at times. So we're gonna try to dial it back. Yeah, I don't know. Just to start out this week, I was just talking to Sam about the Broncos-Vikings game last week. So, amazingly, the Vikings came back from I don't know what the deficit was at one point. They were down a couple scores, though.
It was 20-0 at halftime. And then what was the final score?
It was 27-23 Vikings.
So at some point they kicked a field goal. I don't think they were up 23-0 at any point, though.
I don't think so either. Yeah, amazingly, the Vikings came back. Kirk Cousins had an excellent second half against a pretty tough Broncos defense, not allowing a whole lot of stuff through the air, and the Vikings were missing Adam Thielen in this game. So all that aside, I was I was a little upset because as a Packers fan, of course, I wanted the Vikings to lose, because that's all you can really root for in a bye week is hoping that your divisional rivals lose. So watching them win wasn't the greatest, but I think the worst part about it was that I was playing Courtland Sutton in fantasy. Courtland Sutton has been an absolute stud on my team, working something out of nothing week after week, and He had a field day over the Vikings, something that I kind of foresaw and what a lot of analysts foresaw, because Xavier Rhodes has been on this steep decline this year, just looking fat and slow out there. Certainly not the Rhodes closed days of past, apparently.
Yeah, he looked terrible in that game. That was so funny texting you just during the game. Like, man, Xavier Rhodes is bad. Is actually really bad.
Yeah,
was just killing him. And then I don't remember what play it was, but it might have been a run play or something where, he had an opportunity to make a play and he just got his ankles just broken by a player.
Yeah. Yeah, took a terrible angle of approach and just got his shit juked. And this was something that people have been saying for, I think even last year people were saying that Xavier Rhodes was not performing the way that he should be. And it's I guess just a little bit more obvious because the rest of the Vikings secondary isn't necessarily elite. Like, they're working with Trey Waynes out there, who was drafted early but hasn't really come into the player that I guess they drafted him to be. They're working with Andrew Sendejo, who they just re-signed from after being released by the Eagles. Harrison Smith is still back there doing his thing.
He's still really good, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're not trash by any means, but not having like the elite shutdown guy on that secondary certainly puts their secondary in a different light. So anyway, Courtland Sutton was doing work on the Vikings defense, and so this game came down to a final drive by the Broncos. They managed to churn their way down the field in the final minutes of the game, and they were set up in the red zone for an excellent opportunity to score. So they're down 23-27. They need a touchdown to win. So they're in the red zone. They have enough time to run 3 plays before the end of the game. So the first throw, it goes to Tim Patrick, who was he came back off of IR. he also kind of balled out this game a little bit, but not the guy that I wanted to have the ball thrown to. So he is an incomplete pass, though. So I was like, oh, all right. Got the Tim Patrick show out of the way. This next ball, straight to Cortland Sutton. Brandon Allen drops back, tosses the rock to Noah Fant, drops it. Or it's incomplete. I don't know if he dropped it. I don't think so. It's incomplete. So I was like, okay, well, they have one more shot. There's like 2 seconds left in the game. They have one more shot for sure. This ball has to go to Cortland Sutton. Like, there's no way that this does not go to Cortland Sutton. And Brandon Allen drops back, throws an absolute laser beam to Noah Fant. It hits him in the face, bounces off, lands on the ground, incomplete, game over, Vikings win. And so I remember watching this happen, and I was just like, fuck, dude. Like, by no means did I need Cortland Sutton to score a touchdown in fantasy. It had just been like a nice thing to have happen. But I think it was the combined notion of watching the Vikings come back from the 20-0 deficit at halftime to just steamroll the Broncos in the second half, and then to watch the Broncos not throw any of those passes to Cortland Sutton. It was absolutely infuriating. So whatever, Broncos are fucking terrible. They deserve that.
Yeah, the visual of that ball going off his damn face is terrible. So like, yeah, I don't know. Did he throw it too hard? I don't know, maybe. But the ball placement was great. Clearly hit him right in the right between the eyes. So I don't know, man. No fan, just get your hands up, I guess. But no, my favorite sequence, I think, was on that last drive was with Cortland Sutton. Was they did well, not the Philly special, but they got him with the ball on a reverse, and then he ended up throwing it. And then so he completes a big ball down the field, and then very next play they run basically the same play, and he looks like he's gonna throw it again. He doesn't. He tucks it and runs it, but he was definitely like pulled up in the backfield to throw it. And it's like, that's pretty fucking ballsy. Yep, we're gonna run this trick play twice in a row. Yep, run it back. Same thing on 2.
Man, Vic Fangio, you dog.
Which I respect it. Like, well, it worked once.
Give it a go again.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but they fucking lost, so
whatever.
That's that. The real big highlight of Week 11, frankly, was the Browns-Steelers skirmish, and we already talked about that last week.
Yeah, we hit that one pretty good. Yeah, so indefinite suspension for Myles Garrett. Yeah, you know.
The guy.
Wasn't there's some stuff that came out because he had his meeting with the league, and
yeah, he accused Mason Rudolph of yelling a racial slur, and that's what prompted this whole violent altercation. But the league deemed that there wasn't any evidence of that, so I mean that's a terrible look for Myles Garrett to say something that obviously didn't happen, apparently. So that's a bad look. His suspension is upheld. Marquise Pouncey, his suspension is lowered to 2 games, so he just misses this next bout with the Browns.
Misses Steelers Browns 2.
Yeah, misses this next octagon rematch. So, I mean, that's probably for the best, but, yeah, I don't know. Nothing else really there. We'll see what happens with Myles Garrett. He kind of dug himself a hole with this accusation of a racial slur. Didn't think that was a very intelligent thing to do, given the fact that you're like the most hated person in the NFL for a week. And that
for a couple days.
Yeah.
And then you want to go there?
Go where? What are you talking about?
On Saturday, Colin Kaepernick had a workout.
Oh. Yeah. So that, man, I don't even know what to make of this whole thing because it's just such a weird situation with everything that happened. Like, yeah. So frankly, I try to keep up with it through Reddit to see all these like updates that were happening. So yeah, I guess we can just start from the beginning here with this whole thing. So it came up at the beginning of last week that there was going to be a workout for Colin Kaepernick. Like, it just came out of nowhere. It surfaced.
First blush, timing seems odd. Why are we doing this in the middle of the season? Or the middle to end of November?
Correct. Week 11. Like, this is a pretty good ways through the 2019 season here. So it comes up that he has a workout scheduled, and it's on Saturday. So Saturday, in case anybody out there didn't know, is the day right before Sunday. And on Sunday, most of the teams play a football game. So given that, a lot of the teams probably won't be in Atlanta unless their game is there for some reason. So, I mean, with this, a lot of people were already eyeing it up with a little bit of unease because it seemed like this was partially an NFL PR move to, we're going to give him his workout, but we're going to give it to him under the most, unideal like circumstances. We're going to give him a workout on Saturday in Atlanta at the last minute here.
We're just going to throw this thing together, be done with it, and say, hey, we tried.
Exactly, yeah. At first glance, that's what it kind of seemed like. And so it was like, all right, well, here we go. And then as the week progressed, it picked up some steam, and there were reports that like 20-some teams were expected to come to this workout, which is a ton. So it's like, like this might be a real thing. So this whole thing is starting, and then I think it was Friday, a report came out that the location was changing all of a sudden to this high school that is like an hour away. And so it was like, well, why? And then reports came out that Colin Kaepernick's team changed it to this location. And from that point on, there were mixed reports of a waiver being signed or not signed or being rejected by Colin Kaepernick's camp. And, both sides were sort of throwing out allegations that, Colin Kaepernick was trying to bring in his own film crew and Nike and trying to make this into like a promo thing. And then Colin Kaepernick's team was saying that the NFL was handing out a waiver that was like way more stringent than the one that they hand out at the combine. So it didn't meet their expectations for what they were trying to do. So anyways, workout ended up happening in this high school, and like a few teams I think still ended up attending, but a ton of teams bailed on this workout. Colin Kaepernick did the workout, and I don't know, there were clips posted of it. It looked like he could definitely throw a football, so that's good. And yeah, I don't know. And now we're sort of in this weird waiting period to determine what happens next from it. I don't know. Like there were a lot of weird, fishy things that happened, and Nike apparently got into the fold and said that they never sent a film crew to this location, and that was just not true. So I don't know. There are a lot of people
that came up too, right? Was that there was some controversy whether there was going to be would this be open to media or not, or is this going to be private and only for NFL personnel, right?
Yeah, that was another big thing.
Which from Colin Kaepernick's standpoint, I understand why through this whole thing, to want to be able to have your own film people there. I get that, just to make sure that hey, nothing fishy's coming out of this thing saying, oh yeah, you sucked or whatever. Like, well, we got the tape, and here it is. So I mean, the whole fractured relationship between the two sides. It seems like this is just not going to work. This relationship's not going to work anymore. too much, rightly so, too much skepticism from the Kaepernick side, and then seems like less than good faith in a working partner in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so weird, man. It was so weird how it was handled, and both sides were throwing these wild accusations at each other. Like Colin Kaepernick's side, obviously, like you said, was accusing the NFL of doctoring this whole thing as a stunt to kind of just get him out of the fray and to put this thing behind them. And then the NFL was accusing Colin Kaepernick of, essentially using this whole thing as his own PR material so that, he could come out here and do this whole event under the impression that he was trying to get back in the NFL, but was using it for publicity material to bolster relationships with marketing influencers like Nike, which is why that was a big deal, that the Nike accusation was, rescinded, or it was there or not there. I don't know. So, yeah, you're right. I don't think it's going to work because it just seems like such a fucking mess. And that's kind of a shame because, I frankly, from the video, you can't really tell if Colin Kaepernick has the cojones to make it as a starter in the NFL. But, frankly, I just by looking at some of the starting people that started in Week 11, did anybody watch Kyle Allen ball out this weekend? Anybody watch Brandon Allen ball out this weekend? Y'all watching Ryan Fitzpatrick ball out? Mason Rudolph? I don't know. That's like 4 people right there. Or Ryan Finley. That's another one. Mitchell Trubisky. It's just too many names where it's I understand, I suppose, from an owner's perspective that there's some bad blood here. But man, I don't know, dude. There's some real shitty quarterbacks in the NFL right now starting. Not even backups, dudes that are starting Week 11 here. And, if you're telling me that Colin isn't good enough to even get a backup job to those guys, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of that.
Yeah, it'd be, if anybody could be in the NFL could be fucking honest about this. I don't know if that's necessarily the talent thing's not the issue. It's this thing turned into a goddamn circus very, very quickly. This was a workout in, hey, we're going to wear shorts and t-shirts and throw some passes down the field. This is the the whole thing that this devolved into. That's going to get amplified times whatever as soon as he gets signed by a team. And so I get it. They don't want to sign him, or a team wouldn't want to sign him. Is it worth the headache? Apparently it hasn't been for the last 3 years. I don't know what this workout really accomplished. At the end of the day, what does this really change? Does this change anything? Probably not.
Yeah, right. The sentiment is still there, and I don't know. It's clear that there was a lot of pressure to do something because when you watch the NFL let guys like Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt specifically, 2 of the most recent examples probably of guys who commit arguably worse acts than kneeling for the special song, and they're still playing, obviously. So they're rostered on teams. They serve suspensions or whatever. And they're playing. So I think that's the juxtaposition that a lot of people have a problem with. What's worse? Is it worse to kneel for the Star Spangled Banner? Or is it worse to have a video of you kicking a person on the ground? Or phone audio of you potentially threatening to break your son's arm? it's a weird situation, and I don't know how you solve it. Frankly, I don't think it gets solved by him making a roster. I just don't think it's. I think you're right. I don't think it's gonna happen. And it. I think that this event, this workout, it served its purpose, and frankly, all the NFL has to do is play the waiting game, because as Colin gets older and older, it becomes way easier to say he's not going to play, because he's 32 now. So while he's an NFL quarterback, and we see NFL quarterbacks right now, balling out, and maybe not balling out, but, Philip Rivers, that's not a very good example, but Philip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, they're all quarterbacks in their 30s and or 40. So there's certainly an extended lifespan on the quarterback, but yeah, as he gets older and older, it becomes way easier to say, oh, well, there's another crop of quarterbacks coming in from the draft. We'll just use one of those. There's more upside with those guys.
Oh, absolutely. There's more upside with any of the draft stuff. You have no baggage with most likely any draft quarterback, and then you don't really know exactly what you're going to get. Your little lottery, your quarterback lottery ticket, where you know what you're getting if you were to sign Colin Kaepernick, and you're getting at the age thing. One of the primary, or one of his more outstanding skills is his ability to in the run game, which, it's going to fall off quickly here as he's getting older, you would think.
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing that, in my opinion, is really his saving grace is, and something that, I guess, from his workout, what you'd be able to determine is whether or not he's still agile. In the age of, I read this on Reddit actually the other day, and it was just some silly, it wasn't even a really high upvoted comment or anything, but somebody was making the case that, what we're seeing right now with people like Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, are we seeing an age where the mobile quarterback is going to be the preferred option among offenses, and we're going to see a push towards more of that? And is that going to, push offenses to be structured a certain way? And this guy, pretty much the crux of it was he was kind of posing the question of, is it easier to build an offense around a mobile quarterback so that you don't necessarily have to hit on or sign great offensive linemen, or is it easier to try to build the standard pocket with a competent quarterback, competent offensive linemen, generic pro style offense? Is there going to be a push to try to it's not a very good way to put that.
In the genetics game.
Try to breed a generation, I guess. But you know what I'm saying? To influence the next generation of quarterbacks to be more athletic mobile quarterbacks, so that if there are any deficiencies with the offensive line, issues with the pocket breaking down, you have another line of defense there for your offense.
And I think it would be the opposite. It's the opposite way, that you have it, instead of curating your offense in the NFL and then bringing in players to fit that. You're just working with what you're getting from the college game. Since the college game has gone over the last 5-10 years, has gone much that direction, where you're getting a lot of the air raid offenses proliferated quite a bit. With a lot of the spread concepts, and in the use of these mobile quarterbacks, you're just producing a lot more of them in the college game. We've seen that reflected in the NFL with the way offenses are built. Obviously the first example is what Greg Roman and the Baltimore offense is doing with Lamar Jackson. Obviously he's a special talent and was a Heisman Trophy winner. He wasn't just a run-of-the-mill, D1 athletic quarterback. He was, outstanding at that. But yeah, I mean, there's something to that. I mean, you got to take what you're getting from the college game. And this also kind of ties back into the CBA, where you're not having nearly as much time as you did under the previous agreement, and years back, or you don't have 2 days and as nearly as much practice time to develop young prospects. So you're not stuck with what with the player you get when you draft, but by any means. But there is less time in a practice setting to develop.
Yeah. So anyway, what I was trying to get at was, because of this shift that's occurring in college football, you'd think that, this is kind of why teams might be looking at Colin Kaepernick, is because he was, he wasn't the OG agile quarterback, but he was certainly moving and running around back there before it was. I don't want to phrase it that he was like the first pioneer to do this, because obviously Michael Vick came before him, right? But he was, causing all kinds of problems for defenses with the mobile quarterback situation.
That he was one of the first, not one of the first, but the 49ers offense, which Greg Roman was the OC under Jim Harbaugh, they were one of the first offenses to kind of fully embrace that and really bring in read option stuff into the NFL, which I don't believe hadn't been used as proficiently or as often as it was in that 2011, 2012. About the same time Russell Wilson came in the league as well, doing similar stuff in Seattle.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anything can happen. The situation seems pretty volatile, but anyway, I don't know. Well, there wasn't a whole lot of action after this workout happened. There were reports that teams were apparently interested, but remains to be seen if anything will come of it.
I doubt anything will ever come of it.
Yeah, not entirely likely, but yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, I think that watching the Lamar Jackson show maybe inspired some teams to pursue something like this. Watching the Ravens this year is just nothing short of incredible. They are balling out this year, and I don't think anybody expected them to come out guns blazing the way that they did.
No. I certainly didn't expect that, or Lamar Jackson to be as effective as he has been, or as dynamic in all that, or as consistent too. But that's fine to say that other teams might consider that, but it takes a full buy-in. To make that offense work, just because it's such a large departure from what the other 31 teams are doing in some regard. So I don't know. Maybe we'll probably see more of it, but I doubt it would be with Colin Kaepernick at the helm.
Yeah, right. It just doesn't. I don't know. Nothing really screams. Yeah, of course, anything can happen, but yeah, there weren't any real reassuring signs that something like that was going to happen. So, yeah.
Well, here's the take that I heard that is, I don't know, it's just kind of logical. It's like, well, okay, what is this? Okay, these scouts are going to go to this combine, and okay, well, the outcome is going to be one or two things. It's going to be like, wow, Colin looked great, let's sign him, or I don't know, let's, he's not throwing the ball great, yada, yada. So, but since no one's touched him for 3 years, what are they going to go in there and say, wow, we've been wrong for all 3 years? We're a bunch of idiots. No, they're probably going to go in there and say, oh, shit, he might look great, but it's like, oh, I don't know. Can he still read defenses? Is he committed in the film room? And, you can make up a whole bunch of bullshit to cover your own ass as a scout for saying like, oh fuck, we didn't know he was this good. If we knew he was this good, we would have signed him a year and a half ago.
Right. Yeah, right. I mean, he's been having his own workouts with his own team. Like, he's, claimed that he's been working out this whole time. And it doesn't seem like a wild thing that, I don't know. You'd think that teams are smarter than that, right? Like, I don't know. I understand that this was a very public thing, but, I mean, if Colin was, like, balling out for some reason in his private workouts, just, I don't know. Really slinging the rock around like a pro. I don't know. It's yeah. You think that teams are maybe a little bit more tuned into what's going on, perhaps behind the scenes, than the general population, because the general argument was that Colin wasn't really performing very well at the end of his career there, if that's the end of his career. And they cited his benching for Blaine Gabbert at one point. And then other people were like, well, no, he was injured, and then he balled out, and blah, 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 blah. Or his receiving core was just, like, total trash, which is a fair argument, too. But I don't know. It's like, yeah. It's a tough situation, and, I mean, it's... It's amazing, really, looking back on it, like all the traction that it kind of gained along the way with this whole mess. I think one of the most vivid memories of when this whole thing was in like full force was when we were at Lambeau Field. So if you guys can picture Lambeau Field in the heat of this whole national anthem thing. People weren't very happy about the players kneeling for it, if you can believe that. There in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I distinctly remember. So it was one of the first games. We were doing Tundra Line, and we were lining up to we stand in the end zone for the national anthem. And I can't remember if it was when we were lining up for that or when we were just setting our drums over there in the end zone to go get mic'd up and sound checked. But it must have been when we were lining up, because I think the national anthem was about to play, and I distinctly remember somebody yelling, about standing for the anthem in the end zone. So somebody yelled that, and then I think it was that same game where somebody in the middle of the national anthem yelled some sort of racial slur or something toward Muslim people. Like it was.
I missed all of this.
Yeah, it was dead silent, and this dude yelled some like I swear I can't remember what it exactly was, but it was super egregious. It was something like "fuck Muslims" or something, and it was like, holy shit, that actually just happened. And I remember Aaron Rodgers condemned it after the game immediately. Like, it was like, what an awful thing to fucking say. And it was like, wow, like, this is really an incredible time to be alive. Like, this, like, strange set of circumstances. And, like, this absolute, it felt like this total mob mentality was taking over this stadium, and it was like, holy fuck, man. Like, we are going to look back on this, like, whole thing with a completely different mindset, I think, in, like, 20 years. Like, this whole thing will seem like such a weird concept. And I remember thinking about that in that moment, because it was like, obviously I was like, what the fuck? Why do you say that? Like, what makes you yell that in a giant bowl full of people? But yeah, dude, I don't know. Like, this whole thing now, if this is the last chapter of this whole escapade, which I don't think it is, but I mean, what a wild ride it's been.
Yeah, I've had quite enough of it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
ready to move. Because this is something we in the media. This was too much. Like, I watched this episode is gonna get a billion% more views than we usually get, just because I'm gonna put Colin Kaepernick in the tagline for it. I mean, this is sports media 101. Hey, you want to get clicks? You talk Colin Kaepernick. It was amazing. There was a radio show I was listening to over the summer, and it was just like something, I don't know what it was, but something associated with Colin Kaepernick came up, and then all of a sudden it was like people the phone lights are the phone in show, the all the lines are jammed. We got full phone lines. Like, oh boy. and we're back in 2000, whatever year. What year was that even? 15? 16?
Yeah, 16.
Yeah, we're right back. We're doing a show from 2015 and 2016. Like, well, I was in, what he's doing is great, and then the next person calls in saying I was in the Navy for 5 years or whatever, and I think it's bad. So at this point, I think everybody's made up their mind, and I don't think anybody's switching sides.
Yeah. Right. I think you're right. Like, everybody's dug into their positions at this point, and nobody's really changing. Certainly, internet fights don't solve anything. If you guys have any thoughts about Colin Kaepernick, feel free to leave a comment in the box below. We'll feel free to inspire some intelligent conversation in YouTube, like there usually is under videos.
Please try to guess our political ideologies too.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, I think that'll do for Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, I don't know. There isn't really a whole lot else to say.
I don't think we haven't done a deep Colin Kaepernick segment ever. I don't think in the history of the show.
I don't think we've done a deep cut on anything that was like more than surface level bullshit.
Yeah, I really had no interest in doing this, but it's timely. It's fine.
Well, I guess we had our talk about the ethics of journalism.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We did do that. We did do Journalism 101. So check that one out. In the Definitely the Expert archive. That was episode. It was from a while ago. You'll see it.
Yeah,
it's featuring. We have a guest.
Yeah, it says featuring CJ Zabat in the title. So, yeah. So anyway, moving on to better and brighter things. I thought this was interesting. I don't remember exactly what this. I may just butcher this stat, but I was listening to. So I listen to Fantasy Pros, their podcast, pretty regularly. Really enjoy their stuff, by the way. If any of you guys are out there looking for fantasy advice, it's an excellent podcast for. Especially people like me who don't get a chance usually to watch every single fucking game that happens on a weekend. I watch a lot of football on the weekend, but there's just so many going on at the same time. So I like to use a podcast just to get updated with the, hard and fast stats for the skill players that are involved. Get a quick breakdown. Anyway, I was listening to their stuff, and they were comparing the fantasy production between Pat Mahomes, his 2018 season, and Lamar Jackson. Do you want to guess who finished QB1 more times between 2018 Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson this year?
I'm going to guess Lamar Jackson.
Yes, but by how many? So how many games so far do you think? How many games, I should phrase it like this. How many games did Pat Mahomes finish QB1 last year in fantasy?
Over the entire 16-game schedule?
Yeah, over the entire 16-game schedule.
8.
I think it was less than 4.
Really?
Yeah.
And what's Lamar at?
I think he's at 6.
Ooh. Yeah, move him to receiver.
Yeah, right. Pretty good for a running back. Yeah, he already has more top quarterback finishes than Pat Mahomes did last year, which is just nuts. I mean, they absolutely trounced the Texans last week, 41-7. Like, Texans are not a bad team. I don't think they're very good this year. Like, certainly underachieving.
What? You think they're underachieving?
I do, man.
Well,
I think that
they're like 7-4. Not bad. They're good. They're gonna make the playoffs.
They'll make the playoffs, but I mean, man, I watched the Texans Colts game yesterday, dude. I don't know.
Well, they won.
They won, but barely. I just don't think that
track in the AFC South now.
I should say this. I think that their offense is looking pretty decent, but man, their defense looks terrible. J.J. Watt going out was a huge blow to that defense. Their secondary was already kind of struggling, but not having J.J. Watt up there to bolster the pass rush has really affected that defense. Like the Colts, their offense is, I mean, they're fine. Jacoby Brissett has certainly stepped into his own this year, but I mean, watching the game yesterday was, I mean, they were not very good, the Colts offense, but they still managed to put up 17 on the Texans.
Yeah, well, okay, so the Texans, okay, they have four. They're 7-4, leading the AFC South. They're 4 losses. I'm looking at this through the college football lens, where I'm looking at their resume. Losses to the Saints in New Orleans by 2 points week 1, 6-point loss to the Panthers week 4. I believe that would have been Kyle Allen, right, at the beginning.
Yep.
And then they lost to the Colts, and then lost to the Ravens. Like, those aren't 4 terrible losses if you're going to lose 4 games. The Panthers won whatever, but like, yeah, Saints are good, Colts are pretty good, and the Ravens are the Ravens. So,
yeah,
so I wouldn't say they're underachieving. Maybe the only way they'd be, that'd be really setting some pretty high expectations if you say they're underachieving at 7-4.
I mean, I think that going into this year that they were certainly one of the favorites for the AFC to make a run at the playoffs with their roster construction.
Yeah, and they'll be in the playoffs. They'll make a run. They'll be like a 3 or 4 seed. They'll win the South, and will they make a deep run? Maybe. But they're a solid playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just watching their offense. I expect them to be much more explosive, and they have little flickers of it. But I mean, aside from that wild Atlanta game in Week 5, where I mean, frankly, them putting up 53 on the Atlanta defense at that point, I mean, Atlanta has come out of nowhere and been a superstar defense somehow. But for a while, their defense was, I mean, if the Miami Dolphins weren't a thing, the Atlanta Falcons defense was absolute garbage. So aside from that, I mean, looking at some of these points that they're putting up, they put up 10 on the Panthers. They put up 13 on Jacksonville, tight win there. 10 against the Rams, 0 against the Cowboys. I don't know. I just kind of feel like with the firepower that they have, like Deshaun Watson.
When did they play the Cowboys?
The Cowboys in week...
That was the preseason, bro.
Whoopsies. Scrolled back too far. My bad.
Yeah, I mean, they lost the Packers. They barely beat the Lions. They lost 22-10 to the Rams, who aren't very good this year.
Yeah,
August.
Totally fuck it up. Anyway, those stats aside, because the Rams and Cowboys were in the preseason there, I just think that they should be putting up some more points with the personnel that they have. They traded for Laramie Tunsil to bolster that offensive line in order to give Deshaun Watson a little bit more breathing room. I mean, they're obviously still working with DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller. They traded for Kenny Stills. I don't know. I guess I just think that there's way more opportunity for some offensive mismatches there, just because DeAndre Hopkins is an absolute superstar. Will Fuller, an absolute burner. I don't know. Deshaun Watson is also an incredible quarterback. I think he's really talented. I don't know. I guess maybe it is a little harsh for me to say that they're underachieving, because I still think that you're right that they're performing really well. So maybe to say they're underachieving is a little bit harsh, but I don't know. There's something about watching. I'm just a little uninspired. This Colts game in particular, I don't know. I didn't feel very good watching it from either side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think they're probably playing right down the middle where they're supposed to be. I would think if we go back, I would say probably New England, Kansas City, top 2 seeds. If I was, before the year started, and then Houston, Indianapolis, battling for the South. And that's kind of played out the way it's supposed to. Maybe if you want to say the Chiefs are underachieving a little bit, I'm with you there.
Oh, I guess, right down the middle. Is that what you think of the Houston Texans? Like right down the middle kind of team?
I'm not going to, if they're underachieving or overachieving, it's by a game, so not really anything to get too excited about.
Okay, that's kind of what yeah, okay, sorry. That's what I should say is that that's kind of what I think about them. What they're doing right now. They're right down the middle. They're not they're certainly above average in terms of an NFL team. They will likely make the playoffs. I think that their schedule is not terrible. They got New England next, which is not a great matchup. They've got the Broncos, tough defense, but not really inspiring on offense. And they got the Titans, Bucks, and Titans to close out the season.
So there's 3. So they'll get to 10-6, no problem. At worst.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I don't know. I mean, it'll be what I think the Bucks. It'll just be a problem if their defense, can take the wild card that is the famous Jameis, 5-course meal. I mean, I don't know how you how you game plan for that. All right, guys, this guy is gonna throw the ball way far down the field to these 2 top 10 wide receivers. So I don't know. He's not very accurate sometimes, but
you can't quite see his receivers all that well.
Yeah, he's squinting out there. Yeah, man. I don't know. So anyway, what was I even talking about? Why we started talking about this?
Well, I don't know. Well, okay, so we've established that the Texans are not grossly underachieving.
Okay, well, you know who is underachieving? The fucking
Browns.
Rams.
Oh yeah, the Rams.
The Browns also.
The Browns thing was
we had 2 very good examples right away.
I'd say the Bears are underachieving.
Oh my god, yeah, dude, that fucking Rams Bears game was an ugly game to watch Sunday night. Holy shit.
The correct call, I think, before going into the weekend was like we got to flex Houston, that Houston game to this Houston Baltimore Sunday night, and get that Big Ten West game out of out of the Sunday night slot. And I mean, well, okay. In retrospect, here after that Houston Baltimore game ended up being over very quickly, whatever. But still, I think I would have rather watched that blowout than the Big Ten rock fight that was the Rams Bears game.
Yeah. It was, right. It was an absolute blowout between Baltimore and Houston, but watching that Baltimore offense, it's, they obviously didn't take their foot off the pedal at any point in that game. But on the other hand, that Bears-Rams game, totally just, some real ass ball getting played. I don't know. I mean, it was, both teams have an excellent defense, so,
and offenses that have grossly regressed.
Yes. It's really funny how much these teams parallel each other, actually, in terms of the 2019 performance. They certainly got there in very different ways, but it's been the magical mystery tour for the Rams here since last year when Todd Gurley started inexplicably declining, and there were all the reports of the arthritis in his knees is coming back, and is he gonna play and blah blah blah. And I mean, that whole series of events led to the emergence of C.J. Anderson on the Rams, and it kind of created these Or I guess it made it more apparent that Jared Goff was really struggling when he couldn't rely on Todd Gurley to just kind of take the edge off of him for defenses. Like, they had to focus so much on Todd Gurley being an explosive playmaker that, Jared Goff was able to get by as being essentially the puppet of Sean McVay. And he just had to get the ball out of his hands into one of his 3 super elite wide receivers. With the receiving core, that's Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp, not even including Gerald Everett, who is, he was drafted in the 2nd round, so he's not like trash. I don't know if he's elite up to the level of those other 3 guys, but he's certainly competent.
Yeah, he's a guy.
Yeah, 4 dudes there on the field that you have the ball to throw to and scheme for. I don't know. If he's going to sit back there and just kind of be a competent guy, I think that's fine. But like I said, as the running game regressed, it felt like Jared Goff regressed. They obviously lost the Super Bowl. And then going into this year, the Rams still have everything on the line because they have Jared Goff tied up in a big contract, Todd Gurley in a big contract, and then they went in on Jalen Ramsey this year to solidify their defense because their secondary was sort of taking a hit with Aqib Talib going on IR, Marcus Peters sort of being a liability. They traded him away to Baltimore. Yeah, man, I don't know. The Rams certainly do not look as frightening as they did last year.
And it all starts with the running game and that zone run system. When that thing was clicking when Sean McVay first got there and they were running the ball no problem, and like all those passes, like everything that was set up off play action, when you got Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods or whatever running the deep crosser like just wide open, like. Yeah, you don't need to be a great quarterback to make those happen, but yeah, like when that running game isn't as productive and you're not going to, and you can't get those linebackers to get sucked up on your play action game, that screws everything up. And yeah, Jared Goff's really getting exposed.
Yeah, I think that Sean McVay. Yeah, you nailed it right on the head. I think that they're still trying to figure things out there. I don't think that the Rams are, I don't know, they've looked real bad some of these games, so I'm hesitant to say that they're not like just an awful team this year. I don't think they're an awful team, but man, like this game against the Bears, it was like, goodness gracious. Like what? Like they're missing Brandon Cooks. He's out with his his 2nd concussion this year, but he's a guy that, he's had problems with concussions in the past, and I think a lot of people are worried that his brain is just turned to mush after some of these hits. They're missing him, and the Bears' defense is decent. They don't allow a whole lot of stuff through the air, so it was kind of the idea that they'd have to rely on the running game a little bit more here. Because they've been exposed through the running game with the loss of Akeem Hicks. He went out pretty early in the season and has allowed some lanes there to develop. But, the final score here, 17-7, would indicate that, they were able to get something going at some point. But, man, it felt like it didn't happen until the 11th hour. Yeah, I don't know. Todd Gurley had 25 attempts, accrued 97 yards, so not a terrible game. His yards per attempt was 3.9, and his longest rush was for 13 yards, rush for a touchdown. Not the worst stat line you could see from Todd Gurley, but not the one that I get. Looking at his game, I'm looking at his game log right now, man, and woof. This is one of his best stat lines this year, if not the best.
Yeah, man, arthritis.
He's had some bad ones. I've been listening to people talk about him, but man, against Cincinnati, 10 attempts for 44 yards.
Yeah, that's not enough. You got to get him more than 10 carries.
Yeah.
25, that's fine. That's a good number. 25 touches.
Yeah. I mean, right. If you're going to get anybody the ball in that backfield, it's got to be Todd Gurley.
Yeah, it starts and ends with him.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Not a whole lot else to say about the Rams there. On the Bears side of things, I mean, Mitchell Trubisky he's regressed.
He sucks.
Yeah, he's bad. Really bad.
He's done. They need a new quarterback. And if Matt Nagy does weird things like pull him at the end of the game like he did in that spot, which is really, really odd, like I don't think they're gonna fire Matt Nagy, but I think people in Chicago wouldn't be mad if they did.
Well, man, did you hear what came out of that? It was apparently there was a quote unquote hip injury that he was dealing with.
No, it wasn't. Not the way that conversation looked when brought him real tight, and it was how long that conversation was. That wasn't your hip's injured, you're gonna sit down for the rest of the game. That was it's not me, it's you.
Yeah.
Or it's not you, it's me. But it's really you.
Yes.
This is the end.
Yeah.
Cam Newton to Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people are saying, and I mean, actually on Fantasy Pros, they didn't seem convinced that they were gonna let Mitchell Trubisky go after this year. They were making the argument that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy leveraged their entire hire and legacy on picking Mitchell Trubisky, trading up for him. The whole idea that they were going to develop him into the quarterback of the future for that franchise, and their reputation is entirely tied to the Mitchell Trubisky pick. So for them to cut bait with that would be a big black mark on their resume, and to have to start over again would be calling it quits and, admitting defeat. Was their whole argument. I'm sure that they have a lot more points to it than that. That was obviously like a Cliff Notes version of what they talked about.
Eventually, we're gonna find a team that's gonna finally understand the sunk cost fallacy and realize.
Well, that's exactly what I was gonna say, man. That was literally what I was gonna say. Was that this entire time I'm thinking about this, I'm like, man, this sounds like a sunk cost fallacy. If I were to ever see an example of one,
like I understand the Rams giving Jared Goff the contract. Like I get it because like he was good last year and he was okay at times this year. So. Whatever, but like Mitch was serviceable last year and now has been terrible this year. So I don't know. I don't think if you're gonna cut a game or part ways and not give your first round draft pick quarterback that second contract, like this is the dude to do it. Just punt and start over.
Yeah, man. You don't have any picks because of the Khalil Mack trade. You traded up for this guy. That sucks. Whole lot of what ifs here, but I don't know. I don't think it's a really intelligent thing to put another year of investment into this dude who's in his third year now and is just shown an absolute incapability of playing at the pro level in any sort of like competent fashion. I certainly don't think that the Bears offense is an offense like. I think the strangest part for most people is that they have playmakers there and they have the pieces to, form a competent offense. They have an offensive-minded head coach who has demonstrated that he knows how to use the pieces that he's picked out effectively.
Sometimes, as long as he doesn't forget to run the ball.
Yeah, right. That's that.
Which happens sometimes.
The inexplicable things that he's done this year have certainly called some of that into question. But
Matt Nagy's not completely at whatever.
Yeah, he's not infallible.
He's not infallible. But But I remember saying this at the beginning of the year, like I really enjoyed watching the Bears offense last year. They did a lot of fun things. It was enjoyable to watch with all the pre-snap motion and some of the formation stuff they did. And that did not age well this year because it's been very not fun to watch this year. But there's a lot of those same principles. They're in the playbook. They didn't completely disappear. They're just not executing them at all. So
yeah, I totally agree.
So I would, if I were the Hallis family, the McCaskey, Virginia McCaskey, or whoever is running the football operations down there, I'm done with Mitch, but I'm keeping Nagy. I mean, you're trying to resurrect an offense, ASAP while your window's still open defensively.
Absolutely. I mean, I really don't think that they're that far away from building an excellent roster. Like, I think that, I mean, obviously the change at quarterback needs to happen, and if Cam Newton were to go to Chicago, I think that would solve so many problems. I mean, there's things to say about the coaching style, but I mean, just having having Cam Newton there. I mean, Cam Newton, I think he's been this big old question mark this year with the injuries. But if he's got anything left in the tank, and as long as he can rehab successfully, having just a competent quarterback back there. So just a competent quarterback, which I don't think Cam Newton is just a competent quarterback. I think he's more than that. Certainly going into this year, a lot of people thought that he was going to be in the conversation for, top 10 quarterbacks before everything came out about his the Liz Frank injury. Is his throwing shoulder recovered from the previous year? All that jazz. So having somebody there, just a competent person, like looking at the roster now, like you have a stud at a running back, a real workhorse guy in David Montgomery. He's demonstrated that he can do that, and he can have a 30 carry workload. You have Tariq Cohen working out of the backfield, which is just all the rage in the NFL this year, is creating the mismatches between linebackers and the shifty running backs out of the backfield. You have a receiving core that features Allen Robinson, who's still a stud, and then Anthony Miller, who I don't know, he had a great game last week. He from a fantasy perspective at least.
Taylor Gabriel's good. He's a good slot receiver.
Yeah, all three of those guys together. Pretty good receiving core, I'd say. The fact that Allen Robinson is, the guy there, I think is more than enough.
And Trey Burton's is a good option at tight end when healthy, but he's not healthy.
Yeah, right. He's been having his own problems. So just on that side of the ball, man, having that one piece to sort of fit in there at quarterback, man, I don't know. Like even going back to last year, last year their offense was doing some pretty crazy things, but having David Montgomery enter the fold there, wow. I don't know. It should be way scarier than it is. Like, I don't know why they aren't utilizing him more, because he's really good.
Yeah, I don't know. We won't understand. This almost feels like the situation last year with the Packers with Aaron Jones just not getting the ball.
Oh my God, what an absolute nightmare!
Again, yeah, Matt Nagy's not infallible is really what that comes down to again.
Yeah.
So, also, like, why are you running speed option into the short side of the field on 3rd and 2 or whatever that was? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Pick a different play.
Man, some part of me wonders if he went a little crazy with like how terrible Mitch was playing in the first part of the season, and he's trying to like outcoach himself now.
Yeah, he's so deep in his own head now. Well, yeah, that's exactly what happened in that Chargers game when they went out there and they're down, setting up for that game-winning field goal, and then with like 40 seconds left, they're just like, "Yep, we're just gonna take a knee, run the clock down to like 2 seconds, and then kick it."
Yeah,
we're not
right.
gonna try
Like
and get any closer.
absolutely, like a total lack of faith in your offense to do like not a stupid thing in the last minute or so there. Like, I mean, I don't know what else that is. Like, it's like, I understand, I guess, trying to be conservative, but like, wow, that's way conservative. Yeah, like, I mean, it's like a total insult, really, to your offense that, like, man, so you don't even want to, like, I don't know, you don't even want to center the ball?
That is the football equivalent of ooh, I'm not going to go outside because I could get hit by a bus.
Absolutely.
You can't live that way. Yeah, it's true. You could fumble, but you can't not do anything.
Right, or you could, and then you fucking lose the game, which happened. So, yeah, man. I mean, I remember hearing about that, and it was like everybody was complaining about it, and I didn't actually watch the end of that game, so I was like, how bad is this really?
It was bad.
And then, yeah, dude, terrible. Like, yeah, so, I don't know. Like we just said, I think Matt Nagy's just having some mental breakdowns here, having to deal with Mitchell Trubisky at the helm. I mean, people are talking about whether or not Chase Daniel is just gonna step into the fray here at some point. I mean, I don't think that's a wild thing to think that happens if the Bears continue to struggle. I mean, what the Bears
sure.
are.
Well, I mean, I don't know what does that do. I mean, save Mitch for what? He's obviously not your long-term answer. I don't know. Do whatever you want. It doesn't matter.
Right. I mean, I don't know. At what's their record? 4-6 here. I mean,
yeah, they're in a tough spot in a top-heavy NFC.
Yeah, I mean, the next games that they have here, they play the Giants this week. They've got the Lions up after that, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Chiefs, and the Vikings to close out the season.
Yeah, no, they're done.
Yeah, that's a rough way
done.
to end the season, man. Like, I think that they can beat the Giants based off just on their defense alone. They'll probably be able to squeeze one out against the Lions because Matt Stafford isn't playing. But those last 4 games, man, woof. And that Lions one is a big if, just because the Lions are totally ravaged by injuries. That Kerryon Johnson and Matt Stafford going out totally ruined their season.
Yeah, that game, that's gonna be a throwback Thanksgiving game with that's gonna be the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving that I know and love, like just absolute dog shit. Like for like a while when I was growing up, like going up over to my grandparents' house for Thanksgiving, just like, have the Lions ever won on Thanksgiving? I didn't know for a while.
Man, you're telling me you're not excited to watch Jeff Driscoll hand the ball off to Bo Scarborough?
Dude, Bo Scarborough can play a little bit.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
He excelled at Alabama.
Yeah, they said that name, Bo Scarborough. Like, I know that name. I couldn't remember where it was until they said, yeah, it's from Bama. But yeah, he's a competent running back. Goes to show why you never draft a running back high in the draft.
Exactly. When you can get studs like Bo Scarborough real late,
you can just sign people that they tried to convert to receiver, and then bounced around between practice squads, and he's fine. He's a competent player.
Man, that was so. I guess we can sort of move into fantasy here because I have something to say here with fantasy. So I haven't gone in on any of these lottery ticket guys, these handcuff dudes. So it started with the Chase Edmonds lottery ticket when David Johnson went down, I think. And then after Kerryon Johnson got hurt, it was the Ty Johnson show. And then after Devonta Freeman went down, it was the Brian Hill experience. And so, I mean, just through those guys, I think, like those were 3 dudes that were all like pretty heavily bid on in our league specifically, and I'm just about everywhere else too, because everybody was like, "Oh man, Chase Edmonds is about to be a stud," or Ty Johnson's about to get that work.
Yeah.
Brian Hill about to get those touches.
Yeah, how'd those all pan out?
All three of those guys flopped hard.
Yeah, because Kenyon Drake came in and cucked Chase Edmonds.
Yeah. Also, he got hurt, so.
Oh, yeah, that too. Then
Ty
stuff happened to
Johnson.
the other two dudes. I don't know.
Yeah, Ty Johnson was not good. And so they signed Bo Scarborough. And then Brian Hill was last week was his day, or his first time in action as the starter. Didn't do a whole lot with that. So he's got another opportunity here to go, but I mean things are looking like they'll shift back to Devonta Freeman after they come back, or after he comes back from injury. Yeah, man. So I mean, in the midst of this, you kind of lucked out here in the lottery ticket game. Kenyon Drake panned out the waiting game.
Yep, that pans out. Yeah, that one panned out, and it doesn't really help that much. Hasn't really won me any games, but man, I was in it. I almost slayed the beast that was Cordell, or is Cordell.
That was a tough game to watch, man. That Chiefs game.
Yeah, because I had like 4 dudes playing in that game between Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, and Mike Williams, and just never didn't turn into the shootout, to the 59-52 game that the Mexico City game last year was, even though it was in LA. Just didn't quite ever turn into that, which is kind of what I needed. So,
yeah,
damn.
People thought that this game was going to be a real shootout, and as it turns out, the Mexico City field is still fucking terrible, and both teams just kind of didn't really look awesome out there. Even Pat Mahomes went 19 for 32, 182 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick.
Yeah, it's pretty pedestrian for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just frustrating because that happened, but like all my other dudes were producing. I think everybody. Well, let's look at it. Like everybody else put up a solid number that I had playing. Like, yeah, Kenyon Drake was solid. Joe Mixon solid. Devontae Parker and Deebo Samuel both over 20. Travis Kelce over 20. Yeah, Sammy Watkins not much. Mike Williams not much. Yeah, kicker, defense, whatever.
Tariq Cohen had a big day apparently.
Yeah, I mean that's 18 points. I think I lost by like 15 or something, but I that wouldn't have done it if I swap out 18 for even 5 points from Sammy Watkins.
And who would have known too, because it was David Montgomery was getting the start, so Tariq Cohen's been a total wild card.
Mm-hmm. But I mean he didn't do really anything. He 9 carries, 39 yards, 5 receptions for 35 yards, but a touchdown to go with that.
Right, totally saved his day on that. And really the receiving work was why he's been getting any production this year is just the receiving work in our PPR league.
Mm-hmm.
6
Which
receptions right there.
But yeah, it's not like last year.
No,
last
certainly not
PPR,
a focal point.
He was running back number 11 in PPR, and yeah, 36 this year. That's not as good.
Nope. Yeah.
So whatever. I'm dead. Actually, how many games back am I from the
You
6th
still only
spot?
won. It's certainly
With
things
2
are a
weeks
little
to
bit
go.
more difficult, but 2 weeks to go, you're a game behind. Yeah, you need some people to lose here.
Yeah, I got a pretty small number for points for.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah. Anything can happen. What Eric Bjorklund has to lose against you, you have to win against him this week.
I gotta get a win here.
Got to win against him. Cheech has to lose there in order to give up that spot. Ben's got to lose. Well, Ben and Brian are both playing, so one of them's going to win.
Yeah, it's the thing. Like at this, I got too many people to pass right now. Right now, I just got to get a win and then let the chips fall where they may. And it's not really great because I am in bye-week hell this week. The problem with doing the Chiefs super stack is when the Chiefs are on a bye, I'm in a pickle. So I got no Pat Mahomes, no Sammy Watkins, no Travis Kelce, no Mike Williams, no Kenyon Drake.
Yeah,
so that's my entire bench. So I have no options.
Oh man, you're playing Jimmy G.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I am. I'm hedging.
Oh boy. You don't want to play Baker Mayfield or Carson Wentz?
No, I don't.
Sam Darnold against Oakland?
No, I don't want to touch that.
Oh boy. Yeah, I guess. Your gut instinct in fantasy has been one of the most, like, I don't even know what to make of it. Sometimes it really pans out.
Sometimes it's really bad.
Yeah, sometimes it's real bad, but I don't know. Like, I think it's a combination of the luck you've had, like bouncing back from some things. Like Devontae Parker has emerged into like a real like wide receiver 2 option.
And then cash in on the Kenyon Drake lottery ticket.
Yeah, you've been rostering Jimmy G, he's been putting up points the last couple weeks after relying on a very run-heavy offense for the longest time.
Picking Mike Williams off the scrap heap. That is not a lottery ticket that's really won. That's just been touchdown regression, score a goddamn touchdown.
I know, man.
For God's sake.
It's what everybody keeps saying too. Is Mike Williams has to, at some point, regress to the mean.
He is the Eric Ebron of wide receivers.
That's a pretty good
to that point.
Metaphor. Yeah, it's inexplicable, man. I mean, it is kind of explainable in the sense that Phillip Rivers is just like on a steep decline this year.
And I swear to God, he runs one route. He runs a go ball, and Phillip Rivers just chucks it to him deep. And it's either he gets it or he doesn't. So it is awesome on that last drive when the Chargers were going down there, and he made that crazy catch going up and getting it. Well, that's not really efficient, though, to do that all the time.
No way. Definitely not. I mean, that's why he was drafted, is because he's a big-bodied receiver and he's supposed to be making those contested catches. But, yeah, dude, he just hasn't been doing that this year. And it shows in his fantasy stat line.
Yeah, I mean, it's not... it's one of those things, like, when you do get in the red zone, okay, well, you're obviously not running a go ball. You only got 10 yards to go. But, yeah, he's so big. Just throw him a fade every once in a while, just for fun. Just try it.
Yeah, man. With Hunter Henry coming back into the fold, it's clear that Phillip Rivers has his, he has his Keenan Allen that he's always going to try to throw to. And then if that doesn't work, he has Hunter Henry as his number 2. Or
check it down to Austin Eckler.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, my goodness, the fact that he threw it to Austin Eckler on that last play of the game floored me. Like, you're going to throw it on the last play to the guy who's, the shortest man on your offense.
And you're going to underthrow it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Austin Eckler is an extremely talented running back and an excellent receiver, which has it. I think he's still the running back 4 on the season, even with Melvin Gordon back. Just because he's been a stud as a receiver. Yeah, man, you're doing him no favors by underthrowing him that ball.
Throw it to any of those other dudes. Anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody else has a chance on that. Like, if it was even Keenan Allen, like, I don't think Keenan Allen's catching that ball.
No, I mean, throw it somewhere else on the field.
Oh, I see.
Another player.
Yeah,
absolutely. When the safety's sitting right underneath it and you throw it, you lob it up right to him, well, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Doesn't matter who's running that route.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, Sam's fantasy outlook looks a little bit more dismal after this week.
Yeah, what do you got going on here? You're still riding. You're sitting 9-2, sitting pretty.
I am riding a wave of. I have won the last, I think, like 7 games in a row.
Stringing them together.
Yeah. So out of seemingly nowhere, my team has become a force to be reckoned with. It
with
used
Jameis
to be
Winston at the helm, which is infuriating.
Dude, Jameis he's a top 10 quarterback in fantasy. He's bad, but for fantasy purposes, the fact that he throws for almost 400 yards a game, I mean, he'll get like 17 points, but he's going to throw 3 interceptions a game. 400 yards, a couple of touchdowns. If he will not lose me a game as long as he plays the way that he plays, which is incredible.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with that.
No, Jameis is the drug that I cannot quit. But at this point, there isn't really anybody else. Like, frankly, nobody else is a whole lot better on the seat. Like, for the rest of the season here. What,
you don't want Sam Darnold or?
They'd be good pickups for individual games, but just to close out the season, it's he's got Atlanta this week, which I'm not convinced that their defense is actually legit. I think that they might just get exploited by Jameis Winston hucking the ball way down the field to Mike Evans. They've got
You're
Jacksonville,
right, but I don't know.
Well, let me just roll through these games that he has. So he's got Atlanta, right? And then he has Jacksonville that doesn't have Jalen Ramsey all of a sudden. They've got Indianapolis. They've got Detroit. And then they've got the Texans, who we just talked about that their secondary is kind of in a little bit of a pickle. And then week 17, we don't play anymore, but they have the Falcons again. So given that, I mean, Jacksonville is a matchup that, not the best one that you want to see on the schedule there, but not one that you necessarily like. It'd be different if he was playing like the Patriots or something like that, or the 49ers. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know who else you ride for the rest of the season with. I mean, and the guys that are left on our waiver wire, Tom Brady was dropped there recently, and I thought about snagging him. But, I mean, his rest of the season schedule didn't look fantastic. Like, he had, pulling it up here real quick, he has Dallas for this upcoming week, and then the Texans, the Chiefs, the Bengals, and then Buffalo in the last game. So I thought about it because in that time span there, 13, 14, 15, those are some pretty juicy matchups. Where I'm sitting at right now, though, is as long as if I can pull off this win this week, or if I can pull off a win next week, I think I get a first-round bye.
Well, that'd be good.
Yeah, so given that, I was kind of looking at who has the better Week 16 matchup there. And I think that Jameis against the Texans is the better play. So that's being awfully optimistic about how things shake out. But, yeah, man, I mean, really, it was a kind of a stroke of luck with some of these things. I regret my trade of Josh Jacobs for Le'Veon Bell, but just by a hair, I think. I think that if our league wasn't full PPR, I'd be a little bit more sad, but Bell gets just enough work in the receiving game to be a viable option. Christian McCaffrey continues to just exceed expectations and be, almost matchup proof. Like every single game, man, it's insane. Like I don't know what it was. I think the best example of it was against the Niners when they were getting steamrolled, and I was watching his points trickling, and it was like, oh man, this might be the week where Christian McCaffrey finishes outside the whatever top 25 just because they're There's no way they're going to go to him because they're down by so much. And then he broke off like on 100-yard, not 100. It was like a 75-yard touchdown run, though. And, salvaged his day. Still finished with like 27 points or something. So I don't know. I mean, a stroke of luck between drafting Christian McCaffrey and then some of these guys like Cortland Sutton and DJ Chark really coming into the fold here. Makes me feel a little bit more comfortable just in case in the last couple of weeks here if one of my guys, like we had on Monday here, Tyreek Hill suffered a hamstring injury, which made me a little upset at first. But looking at the rest of the roster, I mean, it's not the end of the world the way that it could be for some people. Like, I guess the best example I have of this is if you look at Cheech's roster. I mean, his roster, I think, has been the one that was decimated pretty bad by either bad luck or injuries. He's been suffering a little bit, and he's been playing the waiver wire really aggressively.
Yeah, he's always pretty active.
Yeah. He's playing Bo Scarborough this week, Brian Hill this week, both of them. His George Kittle pick, George Kittle's been injured the last few weeks. Yeah, traded away Austin Eckler for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that seems like a mistake.
Yeah, in hindsight here, maybe it wasn't the best trade. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. There are certainly, I mean, Cordell and Alexis are still rostering some teams that have some studs on there. So, I mean, any given week, your roster can get destroyed by an injury or anything can kind of happen here. So, we'll see. But fantasy season is quickly approaching the close here with the playoffs approaching in a couple weeks.
Give me that kill me. No, I should get the W this week, which Lord knows I need it.
Right. You know what? I one of the student worker in my office was showing me fantasy basketball.
Yep. How's that?
Oh my god, it looks like a total mess. Like, I keep up with the football stuff just because compared to basketball, way less games played. But man, I was trying to talk with him about it for like a week because I was like, oh man, maybe I'll get into fantasy basketball. And then it was like after 1 week of trying to keep up with all the games, because it's just, you take all the weeks, it's just like, I guess, football in the sense that you just take up all the points from the week and that's your point total. But there are way more games played during any given week. So, you're trying to pay attention to players that are playing on Monday or Tuesday or a Thursday or whatever. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, it's a total mess. So I did that for 1 week, and it was like, absolutely not. I don't think so. But
I think that would be fun to try sometime. It might force me to pay more attention to the NBA, but I could also just not do it.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the idea that I had with it as well, was that I kind of feel like I should know a little bit more about what's going on, and I've tried to take some steps to all but watching the actual games to try to know what's happening in the NBA, but I
just know Luka Doncic is the greatest player of all time now.
Yeah, he's real good. Carrying the Mavs straight to a championship.
But he's only like 19 or 20 or something.
Yeah.
Damn.
And he's a friendly kid. A real friendly face.
Friendly boy.
Yeah, and Carmelo Anthony is back.
Mello.
What a guy.
Glad I got that Syracuse jersey of his.
Yeah, dude. Well, just in
Bust that
time.
out.
It's actually probably pretty relevant. He was balling out for the Trailblazers the other night.
Yeah, I saw that. He scored like 18 points or something.
Did you see his big highlight? Getting the rebound?
I didn't watch. I've not watched any Melo highlights.
All right. Well, it's not. It was like one highlight, and it was he went up for a rebound, and another guy from Portland went up with him, and he yelled, "Fuck out of here! I got it!" Secured the rebound. Passed it off to the guard, and then it was at the last minute. He he took the transition and just shot a three off of it, and just totally sunk it. Nice. So rebounded it, and then in transition just took the three at the top of the key there, and nothing but net. It was like, what is this? This has to be like a meme. This dude that just was not on a team, and then he oh man, he waved off. What's his name? What is that? CJ McCollum?
Yeah, that's a guy.
He's on the Blazers, right?
I think so. Anyway,
I think he waved him off and tried to drive on Giannis. It didn't work.
He got shit swatted.
He got his shit swatted by Brook Lopez, but Giannis also. If he didn't get blocked by Brook Lopez, Giannis was also right on him. So, but man, he moved kind of fast though.
Well, that's good. Good for Melo.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean that's all I have for NBA talk here. Wow, we're at an hour and a half. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's a fucking long one, man.
Damn,
Packers
dude.
are playing on Sunday night. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be good. 49ers, man. Tough matchup.
Yep. Packers will win. Actually, no, this is the game where it's another one. It's like, man, I don't know. The 49ers might run for 500 yards against the Packers, but it hasn't happened yet, so I don't know. It'll be close.
I bet this is the game where it finally does happen because it's just it's a guy like Tevin Coleman.
I don't know.
Like it would just happen just because of the circumstances. Like we watched Zeke get held, we watched Christian McCaffrey get held, both dudes that we were terrified to have play us, and then Tevin Coleman, or even better, maybe Raheem Mostert, he'll go off.
I don't think so. I don't see it happening. My gut says no.
All right, man.
I want my first thought is to fade, the thing to fade the thing we've done in the past where it's like, oh, how are they going to stop anybody? But I'm not doing that.
You're not doing that?
Nope.
You're not fading that notion.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, maybe. I don't know. Fuck it, I'm tired, man.
Sorry, dude. Yeah, we can end this
49ers
here.
are gonna run the ball okay, but not great.
Okay. It'll be a tight game.
Packers will probably win.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us today. Thanks for sticking with us through an extra long episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment.
Cap takes. Sound off.
Oh, yeah. Let us know your hot takes. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.